The Isaacson bio ends with this. After the launch, and this is a launch, of course, one of the ships, I think it was Starship, he displayed a touch of self-awareness. Quote, "I've shot myself in the foot so often I ought to buy some Kevlar boots," he joked. Perhaps, he ruminated, Twitter should have an impulse control delay button. Couldn't we all use one of those at some points in life? It was a pleasing concept, an impulse control button that could diffuse Musk's tweets, as well as all of his dark, impulsive actions and demon mode eruptions that leave rubble in his wake. But what a restrained Musk would a restrained Musk accomplish as much as Musk unbound? Is being unfiltered and untethered integral to who he is? Could you get the rockets off to the moon or the transition to electric vehicles without accepting all aspects of them, hinged and unhinged? Sometimes great innovators are risk-seeking man-children who resist potty training. They can be reckless, cringeworthy, sometimes even toxic. That's about the worst thing you can say about somebody today. They can also be crazy enough to think that they can change the world. And so the story ends. So I'm going to take that last couple of paragraphs apart. We're going to be talking about that for a minute. This is Randy Kirk. Please hit like, subscribe. Absolutely, you want to hit notify so that you listen later to Larry and I go over the week that was and what a week it has been. And then, of course, at the end, I will bring up, something that's on my mind fairly often now, this little guy. Anyway, okay, let's talk about it. All right. Quite a few of the headlines that have been out about the Isaacson bio have made a great deal about those last few paragraphs. The questions raised are things like, is the benefit of what Elon has done worth the pain he has caused so many? Is Elon Musk mean? Let's start there. Well, we've all seen the movie, okay? The tough sergeant gets out there and he gets those troops and he makes them, do twice as much as any other platoon, and he drives them mercilessly and he's mean to them and he calls them names and gets them up in the middle of the night, does all kinds of horrible things. And those are the same guys that end up being the top guys out there in the field, that are the heroes, the guys that are going to be willing to run into fire, and they love the sergeant later in life. I can even remember a third grade teacher like that. She made me do all of the equations in the back of the book. Actually, it was not equations, it was long multiplication, long division, multiplying three numbers by three numbers, and then dividing three numbers into seven numbers or something like that. And boy, it was hard, but she made me do all of them. And she was one of the very few teachers I went back and visited years later, because I learned during those sessions, I learned how to get shortcuts in my brain. And now I can do multiplication and division faster, I bet, than almost any of you. People are amazed by what I can do in my head with multiplication and division. Well, I watched a couple of movies a while back that were dealing with top music teachers who drove their students almost to the points of madness in order to get what was in them out of them. Now, is that the only way to get top results? I don't believe so. But is it wrong? Is it immoral? Is it unethical? Is it crazy? Is to treat people that way in order to get the most out of them and to get the most out of your company? My idea would be no. I would say that both of those systems work, and some people use that system. I personally prefer to use a kinder, gentler approach. But I had 100 employees, and Elon had has 140,000 and growing. So you have to deal with success. Now, do I think it's possible to grow a business like Elon has grown with his brains and his capabilities and his marketing skills and all the things that I talk about in the Elon Musk method? Do you think that those skills alone could have gotten him where he is, even if he had been nicer to his people? Possibly. But then let's take a look at another idea. I was always still am in a seasonal business. because I've been in the bicycle business my whole life. And then I got in the promotional products business. And it turned out that the promotional products people also have exactly the same season. Everything stops in October, early November. It's over until January, February, March. In fact, until March in the bicycle business, till probably February in promotional products. So I was used to having to man up to get lots of employees on board in the summer. And then when it came time for fall, I was going to have to lay people off. I had to lay 20% off of my 100 people. So 20 people had to go home. Well, the first time I had to do that, it was hard. It was difficult for me to conceive of the idea I was going to send these people home for 2, 3, 4 months before they could come back again. And I might lose them. That was another problem, but I was really sad about the fact I had to send them home. But then I realized if I didn't send that 20 home, there's a very good chance that in January, I'd be sending everybody home. The company would be bankrupt. It would be over. Now, that same situation happens with pay and benefits and every other aspect of the employer-employee relationship, which is why I'm so crazy with the way that the state of California and many other states and the federal government now get in the way and impose their will and get in between the owner and the employees, which creates additional expenses and results in not being as effective an owner and boss as you can be when the state isn't telling you how you can do things. That's a whole other story, but it comes down to the same thing with Elon, where he breaks rules and does things sometimes that are not quite the way that California or the federal government would like him to do. Maybe even in Texas, they wouldn't be 100% behind all of the approaches that he takes with employees. But does the mean, tough sheriff, the mean, tough sergeant, the drill master, the person that drives you, the music teacher that drives you to the point of almost madness in order to really get a lot out of you, is that a great way to run a business? Well, I can tell you right now, it absolutely works. And the proof is Elon Musk. Is it unethical? Is it immoral? I don't think so. I think that if you send home people that are not measuring up to your standards, you send them home. Quite frankly, most people feel like when they've even lasted a year or 2 years or 3 years at that company and they've gotten through it and they go out and they can put that on their resume, it makes a big difference. It also, for the most part, when I've had those tough people over me, I feel like I am more highly skilled when I get done, even if I was really upset when I was getting that kind of treatment. Well, so the next question, is he unstable? Is he bipolar? Is he on the spectrum? Well, he says he's on the spectrum. He says he has Asperger's. There are certain aspects of his personality which might cause you to think that. And the book just drives me crazy, repeating and repeating and repeating how he has these situations where he doesn't empathize with the people that are around him. And he's empathetic with the world and wants to save all of humanity, but he doesn't really understand the people he doesn't know how to read the room. He doesn't know how to deal with people one-on-one. He's not emotive. He's not intentional with regard to his relationships. Well, me either. And maybe you either. Okay. I don't know. Maybe Walter Isaacson is just so empathetic, it's hard for him to understand somebody who is less touchy-feely, less interested in having that loving conversation, feels less comfortable having emotional situations like that. I'm probably a lot more empathetic than Elon is. I really, really, really like individual people. I enjoy relationships. I enjoy hanging out with folks and going and doing stuff. But Elon has way more friends than I do. I'll tell you that right now. Now, maybe they're hanging around with him because he's rich and famous, but it doesn't appear so. It appears that he's made phenomenal friends over the years who are around him because they just like being around him and that he's fun and interesting to be with. Now, is he bipolar? Now, I've had a bipolar employee and a couple of bipolar friends, and I would say no. Bipolar usually is streaks. Depression for days, depression where you don't get out of bed, depression where you hide under your bed, days of manic where you're so manic that you actually are megalomaniac because you are believing that you can do things that you can't do. Elon, people call him a megalomaniac. I don't think he's a megalomaniac. He thinks he can go to Mars, and he's doing all the things necessary to get there. That's not a megalomaniac. A megalomaniac thinks he can build a rocket, but he can't. There's not a chance in the world he can ever build a rocket. There's not a chance in the world he could ever put together the team that would go out there and get somebody onto Mars. But Elon can do those things. I don't think that qualifies under the definition of megalomaniac. Let me know in the comments below if you think that I'm wrong about that. But he is, some people might say he's a little odd. I've known an awful lot of super high IQ people. I have a couple of friends of mine that they're brothers. They both scored 800 on the SAT. They're really, really smart, and they have a little bit of that same hesitation in the way they speak, the looking up inside their head before they speak. I think they're really trying to be careful. They really want to be right. They don't like to say things that are incorrect. I don't know. I can't judge that about Elon. I've never met him. All I can say is he's really, really smart, and he really, really knows it. And most people that are that smart do know it. And if they don't, that's a problem, because then your ego is not in balance with who you are. I'd much rather see somebody who has a clear understanding of who they are. I talk a lot about that in my book, When Friday Isn't Payday, where I ask people to try to align themselves with reality in terms of what they're good at and what they're not good at. I'm an okay musician, a horrible artist, and really good at math. I know these things about myself. It's not bragging to say that I'm really good at math. It is not denigrating myself to say that I can't draw a stick figure that anybody can understand what it is. All right. So knowing who you are and being okay with it, that to me is emotional intelligence. All right. What about, does he have demons? Oh, over and over and over again in the book, he has demons, and he has dark periods, and he gets dark. He turns dark. We are in such a society that's so obsessed with psychology and sociology and trying to understand the parts of the human psyche. Leave it alone already. Oh my gosh, I don't think he has any demons. He could, it's possible. I believe in demons. I'm a born again Christian, so I believe that there are demons. I believe that there are angels. I believe in both of those things. I don't think that Elon Musk is possessed. I just don't happen to believe it. I think we would see that in much different ways than what we're seeing. Now, does he have things that happened to him in his childhood that motivate him? Does he have things that happen in his childhood that demotivate him? Yes, and so do I, and so do you. This is not unusual. Almost 100% of us, we have a certain DNA pattern, we have a certain experience pattern, we have educational patterns, and then we have all the ways that we've related to people our entire life and what we've learned through all of that, through the feedback loop. And Elon says he's all about the feedback loop. He wants to hear what is wrong so that he can fix it. How many people do you know like that? Now, that again is, to me, is emotional intelligence. If you want to hear from people when you are wrong, that's emotional intelligence. He's on Twitter, X. He is listening to people on X telling him he's wrong all the time, and he's okay with it. That's emotional intelligence. All right. Is he a product of his father's abuse? Undoubtedly. If you'd gone through what his dad did to him, if you'd gone through what those kids did to him in high school and stuff, you would be a product of that as well. Is he a product of the fact that his mother was loving? Is he a product of the fact that apparently his brother and sister were also loving and continue to really shower love on him today? Of course he is. He's a product of the fact that one of his grandparents was wonderful and one of them weren't. Well, guess what? I'm sorry. Am I ranting too long here? All right, let's finish off with this. What is the deal with his political shift and his enthusiasm for weird conspiracy theories? Again, this is like all through the book. They're talking about his political shift. They're talking about the fact that he gets off on these tangents with regard to some weird political stuff. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Don't you read an article. It might look conspiratorial, or it just might look the opposite of what the media has been telling you for weeks, or what the administration is telling you, what the state of California is telling you, what the state of Missouri is telling you. You're hearing a narrative that is the narrative that the political class or the wealthy class or the business class or some class wants you to believe is true. The class of people that are running the universities, the class of people that are running the newspapers, they tend to be the same folks, okay? And they've got a narrative that they want you to believe. They want you to believe that America's not great. They want you to believe that that America's a warmonger. They want you to believe. They have all kinds of things they want you to believe. That we're racist. Every white person is racist and nobody else is. I mean, they have all these things they want you to believe. And recently, they wanted you to believe some things about a virus that was going around. They wanted you to believe certain things about what's happening in the Ukraine and what isn't happening in the Ukraine. Anyway, they have a narrative. And sometimes I'll read an article, I'll see a headline, I'll read an article, and I'm upset. And I want to send something, I want to post on Twitter, on X. I want to get a sign and go out and start marching in the streets. I want to start a movement. I've started a couple of movements. I started a movement years ago, had 500 folks that were part of my movement. We shut down the Diamond Lane on the Santa Monica Freeway. So sometimes you get angry enough, you get crazy enough that you want to say something. Well, I don't have 100 million people on my X account, and he does. So when he talks, people listen. And not only the 100 million people that are on his X account, but every single newspaper, every single reporter, every single person like me that's doing YouTube is just waiting for him to say something that we can use as part of our headline so we can get clicks. Well, that means that maybe he should be a little slower to react, and maybe he should have a pause button, and maybe he needs a better filter. But guess what? That's for him to figure out. Right now, my answer is to all of this, yes, he's way more than worth it. I don't even think he's doing things that are unethical or immoral or even wrong in order to get to where he's gotten with regard to his building his companies. That's my personal point of view. I'd love to hear your personal point of view. Go ahead and read the book. It is a well-written, interesting book. It's a one-stop place. For me, it was almost nothing in there I didn't know. I mean, literally, maybe there was, out of 600 pages, maybe there was 100 things that was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, literally, that's how bad it was. Because why? I spent all my time doing this, 40 hours a week, sometimes more, learning about Elon, learning about all of his companies, and figuring out what it all means in terms of stocks, in terms of finance, and reporting to you guys. Because I've done that, I've read all the books that have been written about him, and I've written 2 of the best-selling ones. I kind of know a lot already. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't read the book. If you haven't read the earlier bio, if you haven't read the PayPal Mafia book, I forget the name of it right now, I can't, the Founders. If you haven't read the Founders, if you haven't read the earlier Elon Musk biography, if you haven't read my 2 books, and then it's possible that you would find this quite intriguing in terms of putting together the entire life. If you've read all of those things and you listen to me fairly frequently, then you might not get much out of the book. That's just what I'm thinking. All right, listen, this has been fun. I hope. I don't know if it's been fun or not. So hit like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you are notified so that you will hear Larry and I talk about the week later on today. For goodness sakes, if you haven't bought your Cybertruck magnets yet, your bottle opener magnets yet, you need to do that. We are getting so many orders every single day. The orders are coming in like crazy. It is a super good gift item. Buy them now and you'll have your gift giving almost taken care of. You can give them to employees if you're an owner. You can give them to the boss if you're the employee. You can give them to your coworkers if there's some kind of an exchange for $25 or less, right? That's a lot of the exchanges like that. Maybe you can give them to your buyers if the buyer is allowed to exchange gifts up to $25. That's how much it costs. You've got all kinds of folks that you know that own Teslas or that are thinking about owning a Tesla, thinking about getting a Cybertruck. Maybe they're on the list and they're waiting. I mean, all of those people are potential folks who would be thrilled if you got them this little $25 gift. By the way, if you're not in the United States, you have to add $20 for freight. I'm sorry, there's nothing else I can do. It costs me sometimes way more than $20, to send it. I just sent one to Australia. I think that was $36, but fortunately he bought 3, so it still made sense. Okay, so $20, just add $20 wherever you are outside the United States, and I'll just make sure that's enough to handle it for me. Okay, and then you can also get one. You can get your choice, either one of them. Yeah, either one. You can get one of these just for joining Patreon at the $10 level. So you just go to Patreon. The information is below in the description. That's also where you can find the PayPal information to send the $25 or $50 or $75 or $100, depending on how many you want, to paypal.me/Randy Kirk, all lowercase. And then please, please, please remember to let me know, do you want the camo version or do you want the stainless steel version? All right. And I've been having such a great time. You guys have been great in terms of supporting me with these purchases, but some of you, it may not have been about supporting me at all. It might have been because it's just so cool. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. And we'll go on to do something else in the morning. What am I going to do tomorrow? Send me a note. What would you like me to do tomorrow?